You're listening to Short Inspirations from Ralph. Just Who is Jesus? Part 1. One of the all-time great scriptures that clearly confirms who Jesus is, among many other New Testament writings, is in John. John chapter 3 verse 16, and it says this from the Passion Translation: "For this is how much God loved the world. He gave his one and only unique Son as a gift. So now everyone who believes in him will never perish, but experience everlasting life." This is it. This is the lifeline for us all. And so we see that this Jesus is actually God's unique Son. But I take you back around about 1500 years before Christ came. And the scenario is a backcountry wilderness where a man called Moses was looking after sheep. He was there because he was in exile. He was on the run for decades after killing a man in Egypt. He looks over and sees a burning bush. It was burning, but the actual bush was not being consumed like a dry bush in that area should have been. It was an encounter with God, who talked with him from that bush. He told him to take off his shoes, his sandals, and God had asked him to go back to Egypt to set his people free from Pharaoh, the evil Pharaoh who treated the Israelites as slaves. Very cruel. But get this, Moses asks him a question. Something like, "Who are you? Who shall I say sent me? What's your name?" And in Exodus 3:14, God replied, "I am who I am." Then he added, "This is what you shall tell the Israelites: I am sent me to you." Now, if you fast forward back 1500 years to Jesus' time, and he was being asked a similar question but in a different tone from people who were trying to trip him up. They were just basically saying, "Who do you think you are?" And in John 8:58, Jesus answered them, "I solemnly declare, before Abraham came to be, I am." Wow. And later on in John 10, verse 30, he says, "The Father and I are one." From these scriptures and many, many more scriptures, we see that Jesus is actually God. He's not a created being like an angel or like a human being. He always was, always is, and always will be. I'll take you to Mark 14, verse 61 to 64. The high priest was interrogating Jesus, and he said to him, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" Then Jesus answered, "I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of the power and coming with the clouds of heaven." It's a remarkable statement. Many other scriptures, especially Paul's writing, confirm who this Jesus actually is. In Colossians, the letter to the Colossians, chapter 2, verse 9, he says, "For he," meaning Jesus, "is the complete fullness of deity, living in human form." I want to leave you with quite an amazing event, because it was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and I may have mentioned this before, but in John 18:5, they came to get him, to arrest him, and to crucify him eventually. And they said, we're looking for Jesus. This is in response to Jesus saying, who do you seek? And Jesus said, I am he. But the issue is, in most biblical translations, the word he has been inserted afterwards. So really, Jesus said to them, I am. Quite amazing. And in verse 6 of chapter 18 of John, it says, when Jesus said, I am, they drew back and fell to the ground. Now there were hundreds of soldiers there, possibly up to 400. And so we see that the power of God was not only with Jesus, but he was God. God bless you.